Good evening, friends. In our 8th Corporate Law webinar series, we have been discussing about the new Act, Consumer Protection Act 2019, which is the latest act which came into force effective 20th July 2020, and various rules which are formulated 24th, 29th July with authority being in place. So, incidentally, what we are going to discuss today, all or the new provisions in 2019 which were not there before in 1986. The 3-decade-old law is replaced with the new act where you have with a digital platform in place the e-filing of consumer compliance, which is one of the parts which we are going to discuss today with the site and the access, how we have to log in, more of the procedural framework and the simplification procedure with regard to arbitration, the alternate dispute resolution mechanism, a simplified process in the form of mediation, which was not there before, which is the second part we are going to discuss today. And we are also going to discuss part 3, which is going to be a new authority, a regulator, CCPA, Consumer Protection Authority, more to protect, promote, and enforce the rights of consumer. Not only that, also to curb the UTP, unfair trade practices. So these three objectives enumerated through these three segments we are going to discuss today, along with a very recent case law where the final verdict came in Jan 2020. Thanks to Aishwarya for this detailed presentation. These are various legends used in today's presentation. The regulator, which is CCPA, Central Consumer Protection Authority. CPC, the reference is drawn in mediation, where it says that it will go by the principle of natural justice, and hence the CPC and your Indian Evidence Act will not come into play there. This is the outline where we will first see mediation provisions, then e-filing with the procedural aspects to it, and CCPA and its wide powers in the new act. We'll conclude with the recent case law, friends. Chapter 5 of this act deals with mediation. This is the definition which is encompassing all the three segments of the governing law. So, a couple of provisions are there in the Act, Consumer Protection Act, and few definitions are available in the rules and regulations which draw reference to mediation rules and mediation regulations 2020. So, it's a culmination of all the three governing provisions, friends. Mediation. What do you mean by mediation, friends? In general parlance, mediation means your voluntary and simplified structure which is adopted as a simplified alternate mechanism, dispute resolution mechanism. And there a third party intervenes more with his negotiation and discussion capacity, of course with qualification. He will be acting as an unbiased, independent party between two parties who have conflict, who have a dispute. To resolve the dispute, they approach or they seek the remedy through this alternate dispute resolution mechanism. During these COVID days, we have seen that mediation is considered to be one of the effective routes, and that is the reason even CPC, there is an amendment giving effect to mediation. Here the definition under the governing provision says it is a process by which a mediator mediates the disputes. So he tries through his negotiation skill, with his necessary expertise and skill and the background on the subject, to resolve the dispute between two parties, which means parties to the dispute is must. Mediator is a person as referred in section 75. So mediation provision starts from section 74, where mediator's role is attributed to section 75, and regulation is the regulation made by the National Commission, the central authority. The cell, mediation cell, is as established in accordance with section 74. Settlement is the proceeding, how it is decided and how the settlement is arrived at between the disputed parties, is nothing but the settlement. Section 74. This talks about your mediation cell. A mediation cell at national level, which is your national commission, is established by central government. Your mediation cell in the district and state commission is by the state government through a notification. A number of persons will be such number of persons as may be prescribed. So friends, wherever the section draws reference to as may be prescribed, like any other governing provision, you have reference drawn from your rules or regulations. When you draw reference to your rules and regulations there, the reference is drawn to the president, member and such other officials and staff as may be required for these mediation cells. Records to be maintained by the cell would include your empaneled mediators. So the president bases the qualification and bases the independence which is established by the mediators, be it your judges of Supreme Court, High Court, or your judges of the district court, sessions judge, or your additional district court, or advocates with 15 years of experience, advocates with 10, or professionals with 15 years of experience. So all those are the qualifications as set out in your mediation rules. So they will, out of these empaneled mediators, they will pick up and select those empaneled mediators for the purpose of this particular resolving dispute and list of cases handled by each cell. They have to maintain the record and records of the proceeding. We are going to see the subsequent slides as to how mediation proceeding is recorded and how the settlement is complete when the particular decision is handed over by the mediator to the respective commission. Commission in this case, wherever the reference is drawn to commission in today's presentation will be your national commission, state, district commission respectively. Any other information as prescribed in the regulation. However, if you read the regulation, no such record is specified as of now in the regulation. Submission of quarterly reports. National Commission, State and District Commission, there is a requirement which draws reference to the regulation, mediation regulation, which says that within 1 month of the end of every quarter, all these mediation cells which are constituted under 74, they have to submit a quarterly report to whom? To the concerned commission. And what are the components in this quarterly report? If you see the cases which are pending at the beginning of the quarter, cases referred during the quarter, disposed during the quarter, ultimately you will have those cases which were pending at the end of the quarter, and in respect of cases referred to mediation, the number of cases assigned to each mediator. So this will have the subcomponent. The earlier one will be the consolidated summary. The second case list will provide the detailed list of each mediator's cases which were successful and not successful against each mediator, and vis-a-vis each mediator the fee paid for each such case. Empanelment of mediator draws reference to section 75, mediation cell 74, mediator 75. The duty of the commission. For the purpose of mediation, commission shall prepare a panel of mediators on the recommendation of selection committee. So the selection committee has the necessary capacity to select these empaneled mediators, and this committee comprises your president and member of the respective commission. And empaneled mediators, of course, they will draw consideration to their qualification, experience, the manner of training, code of conduct of empaneled mediators. If you see the regulation, they have drawn a separate rule for code of conduct where it clearly says that in order to establish unbiased decision, they should certainly establish independence, which means they should not have any pecuniary interest with that particular party in the dispute, or including their affiliates or associate holding subsidiary company if it is a company, or if it is going to be an individual, they should not be related to those parties to make themselves independent of this particular dispute. And grounds on which and the manner in which the empaneled mediators shall be removed. So what are the grounds in which their particular empaneled list of members could be removed from the list or cancelled from the list? And the validity of these empaneled mediators will be a tenure of 5 years, and they could also be reappointed for another term subject to such conditions as may be specified by the regulation. when you read the regulation where there is a specific reference drawn to re-empanelment of all these mediators, this can happen only depending on the success factor, which means the number of cases which are handled by each such mediator and how effectively they are able to discharge the cases. This will be certainly deciding on the panel of mediators to be re-empaneled. The nomination of mediators from the panel. Commission shall consider the suitability of a person for resolving the dispute while nominating this person from the panel of mediators. So the suitability will certainly determine the nomination of mediator from out of that particular panel. And to establish the fact that this particular mediator is independent, the necessary facts to be established are his personal, professional or financial interest in the outcome of this dispute, and to prove that he is independent of this particular matter, and such other facts as may be specified by the regulation. If you go to regulation, again they want to establish that he is unbiased and he will be in a position to establish that particular independence while discharging his duties as a mediator. The replacement of mediator in certain cases where there is an information furnished by either of the parties who are parties to the dispute or by any other person to prove that this particular information is sufficient to replace that mediator. In such case, after hearing the mediator, because you should certainly give an opportunity to establish the principle of natural justice to that particular party, and then you can replace the mediator. Now let's understand the procedure for mediation as enshrined in your rules and regulations. Mediation shall be held in the respective consumer cell attached to the commission, and they shall have regard while trying to resolve the dispute ideally about the rights and obligation of each party. If there is any contract which was entered into between the parties, let them look at the agreement where it clearly establishes the rights and obligation of each party, usage of trade, and how this particular trade has resulted in the defect of good or deficiency in service as the case may be, and such other relevant factors as may be necessary for the mediators to resolve the dispute. A no appeal shall lie from an order passed by district commission pursuant to a settlement through mediation under section 80, because section 80 is the charging provision for settlement through mediation. Hence, the provisions in the district commission appeal, if you see, which starts from your section 30s, there it clearly says that where there is a settlement through mediation, no appeal shall lie from the order passed by district commission pursuant to this particular settlement. Mediator so nominated shall conduct this mediation within such time. The time is as specified in the regulation, which is 3 months, or if there is an extended time, within such extended time as may be provided and enshrined in your mediation regulations 2020, which came into effect from 24th July. Mediators shall be guided by principle of natural justice, which we discussed in the beginning, and the parties shall be entitled to appear before the mediator either by themselves or through their learned counsel or authorized representative. If the party is not participating in the mediation proceeding, then Consumer Commission may direct such party to participate in the proceedings, and the party shall provide all necessary information to help the mediator to resolve the dispute, and the recording, the minutes shall be made on every date where there is a proceeding which is happening, and agreement between these two parties which comes for a resolution of this particular dispute shall be submitted by the mediator to the Consumer Commission in a sealed cover to make it confidential. And even if there is no agreement which is entered into between the parties to resolve the dispute, the mediator shall intimate the commission without in any manner disclosing as to what transpired during the proceedings, but he shall provide that particular reason as to why agreement could not be reached. The mediator shall facilitate voluntary resolution of disputes. Of course, they shall ensure confidentiality, and they shall not communicate with the Consumer Commission except by way of the report. So only by submitting the report on a seal cover reflecting the recording of the proceedings they can communicate, not otherwise with the commission, to establish independence ideally. Immunity, and the greatest immunity or safeguard provided to the mediator is he shall not be liable for any civil or criminal proceedings. and he shall not be called for to appear before any court. Matters which should not be referred to mediation. So these are the outside area aspects which shall not be referred to mediation, which is your medical negligence or compounding of offences which is already submitted by the parties, or prosecution for criminal offence or non-compoundable offence, or fraud, any offence which involves fraud or fabrication of the documents, or cases which involve public interest or interest of numerous persons who are not parties before the commission. So all these matters shall not be referred to mediation. Refund of fee. The complainant shall be entitled to receive full amount of the application fee paid if the settlement is reached between the parties. So it again depends on the agreement between the parties, and the parties shall not initiate any judicial proceeding in respect of matter which is the subject matter of mediation, and where there is an express agreement between the parties for not initiating any such judicial proceeding, in which case they shall take recourse or shelter only by way of mediation. And settlement agreement not to be discharged by way of death. Just because there is a death which is occurring, that does not discharge the liability of the party, is made very clear by virtue of this provision. Here it clearly draws reference to the capacity of the legal representative of the deceased party to step into the shoes, and nothing shall affect by virtue of the operation of law of any right of action which is extinguished by the death of a person. So that does not stop the proceedings. Settlement through mediation. If the agreement is reached between the parties, then the terms shall be reduced in writing, and settlement report shall be forwarded to the concerned commission, which could be your national, district or state commission, or where there is no settlement also, the mediator shall prepare the report accordingly and submit to the concerned commission. And if the dispute is settled in whole, then within 7 days on receipt of the settlement report, the concerned commission shall pass necessary order. So first, mediator will record the proceedings. The second step will be to submit it to the concerned commission. Third step will be the concerned commission. Within 7 days of receipt of the report, they shall pass necessary order. Where there is no dispute which is settled in respect of this particular mediation proceeding, then the concerned commission shall, like normal proceeding, they shall continue to hear that particular issue in dispute, or where there is partly settled consumer dispute, to that extent they shall certainly pass necessary order. In respect of that particular matter which is not settled, it shall be severed from that particular settled dispute, and the commission shall hear those issues in the normal course of proceedings. The second part today is the e-filing of consumer cases. Rule 8 lays down the provision for manner of filing complaints electronically. And on 7th September, the President of National Commission notified the date for commencement of electronic filing of complaints before the National Commission. And if you had noticed in the paper, we saw Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi providing for the particular filing of complaints. So Delhi is the first state to have announced this particular e-filing of consumer complaints, and which will also be an effective remedy during this COVID times for consumers to approach the necessary commission by virtue of the digital platform. Online platform is available through e-Dakil, which was launched at 4 p.m. on this day. E-Dakil, which is your e-admission of compliance. So the practical aspects will quickly have a glance on how e-filing shall happen. It is quite similar to all your MCA and other RBI sites, where you will first get your login credentials. The user registration is must. And here it is made more customer friendly by giving all the user manuals. So the instruction for filing and various documents are also uploaded in the portal for us to download, see, and then upload the necessary documents. So the online portal provides the manner of e-filing in two modes. One, video instructions are available. The other one is the user manual, where the step-by-step registration process is clearly provided together with the download manual. So they have provided registration, how new consumer complaint can be filed, and if you are not happy with the decision from the district commission, how you can make an appeal before the next forum, which is your state commission, and even if you are not happy with the state commission, how a revision petition can be filed before your national commission, and payment process. Once all these are filed, how it goes to your payment gateway, and written response submitted by the opposite party, and how rejoinder by the complaint is happening. So the end-to-end process is well established in the portal, and they've also provided all those downloadable versions. Not only for the manual, the option is available here. All the governing provisions also you can read and understand, and it thus removes the difficulty of consumers from visiting personally before various forums, and making it user friendly. And these are the 5 tabs which are available on the portal. Home, complainant section, which will be the customer who will be making the application. Consumer commission section will be more for the officers to use. Help and user manual more for our ready reckoner, and various useful links more for our reference. So this is your 4th user manual, where you have all the list services, the dashboard which is available for your reference, and know your case status. There you can just give your application number and understand, just like how you track your application in various governance portals. Here you can submit and obtain the status. For all these, to enable these services, you have to complete your user registration. Again, you will get the OTP, and a confirmation mail will also be received for activation of this particular user ID. Once your account is created, your email account is created and activated, you will get a confirmation, and payment in case of consumer complaint, it will guide you to the payment gateway directly. So this is how the e-filing consumer complaints is provided with a simplified route, and to resolve the disputes in a fast and speedy manner. The final regulator is the Part 3 provision, which is CCPA, and its wide powers. We already discussed that their power is nothing but to protect and enforce the rights of consumers, and also to curb the unfair trade practices. The composition will be the Chief Commissioner and such number of commissioners as decided by central government. It came into effect effective 24 July 2020. The present composition is Additional Secretary, Chief Commissioner, Joint Secretary, Commissioner, DG, Bureau of Indian Standards, Director General Investigation, DG, National Test House will be your Additional Director General Investigation. And currently, the CCPA is functioning from the premises of IIPA. Again, the criteria for selecting your commissioners will be basis their qualification, and the salary and allowance and such other terms and conditions for this empaneled commissioners, chief commissioner, DG will be as decided by central government. And proceedings of CCPA will not be validated because of any defect in the constitution or appointment. And they can add such number of officers and employees for effective functioning of this particular authority, and experts and professionals advice could also be obtained by the commissioners then and there. We already discussed that the object is to protect the rights, prevent UTP, and additionally, where there is any false or misleading advertisement which contravenes the provisions of the Act, or any person who takes part in the publication, they will ensure an adequate remedy will be provided to the consumers. Powers and functions of CCPA will be to conduct inquiry, investigation, file complaints before the commission, intervene in any proceeding before the commission in respect of violation of unfair trade practices, alleged UTP, or violation of consumer rights as the case may be, and review the matters with regard to consumer rights and recommend appropriate measures for effective implementation. Not only that, they are trying to adopt the best international practices for protecting and promoting the interest of consumer rights, and promote research in the field of consumer rights, promote awareness with regard to these rights, and also motivate NGOs and other institutions to cooperate and work with consumer protection agencies. So here comes the voluntary agencies assistance, and mandate the use of unique and universal good identifiers in such goods for curbing unfair trade practices, and also issue safety notices to alert the consumers to make the customer beware, and advise the ministries on consumer welfare measures, and issue necessary guidelines more to protect and enforce the rights of consumers. We'll conclude with a case law, friends. If you have any doubts, I'll be glad to take on the subject. This is an interesting case where SBI, while this particular consumer had availed loan, like any other financial institution, they have obtained this title deed more as a security for this particular loan, which was availed by Amitesh Mazumdar. Here the complainant is Amitesh and the opposite party is the bank, SBI. This complainant took a loan for 13.5 lakhs and deposited title deed. On settling the loan, of course, the complainant sought for returning the title deed, but to his surprise, this bank did not return the title deed to the complainant. Hence, this particular complainant made necessary grievance submitted to your RBI ombudsman. To his surprise, again, even then there was no positive result, but an assurance given by the opposite party stating that the title deed will be provided, but since it was not provided, this particular complainant approached the district commission. OP admitted that the title deed could not be traced, and hence the order was passed to pay a compensation of 5 lakhs plus 30,000 towards litigation cost for the complainant. There was an appeal made to State Commission by SBI, and in view of the facts already established in IOB case versus Bala Reddy, the loss of title deed would result in erosion in the valuable property, because title deed is equivalent to your value of the property, because that is the document evidencing the title. So the OP was directed to pay compensation for the loss of the deed. And also the State Commission dismissed the appeal, stating that there was no reason for them to interfere in this particular case. Hence, the revision order was sought before the National Commission by the opposite party. And there were several representations made by opposite party, which inter alia included that the certified copy of the title deed will be provided since the original title deed could not be traced, and they will also issue a certificate admitting the fact that this particular title deed was lost, and a public notice will be issued stating that the title deed was lost, and the revenue record is very clearly establishing the fact that the complainant was the owner of the property. So these were the contentions of the opposite party. But the National Commission said that title deed evinces proof of this particular marketable immovable property value which was possessed by the complainant. Not only that, there could also be a fear of somebody claiming this particular as a bona fide lender, claiming this particular property title and going for an equitable mortgage by depositing the title deed. So that risk is already prevalent, and the erosion in the value of the property, if it is to be sold without the title deed, would be a lump sum and a significant amount which the complainant has to bear. And if he wants to go for any additional loan, if the complainant, then the title deed will only come into rescue, because any other financial institution will also seek the title deed to be deposited for providing the loan. And hence the National Commission dismissed the revision petition filed on 3rd January 2020. More in favor of the complainant. Friends, with this we are concluding the third series, continuous series on COPRA of the 8th Domestic Corporate Law webinar. We will continue with COPRA in our next webinar series as well, friends, and conclude it. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.